out pretty easy. It takes more discussion than that. So I went ahead and asked if we could just talk about it this morning during class and go over this for a few minutes. I hope not to take the whole class with this, but my pages are 7. My notes are. I will speak clearly in a minute. My notes are 7 pages long. So we'll treat this fairly extensively, but not exhaustively, as we discuss this morning. But I just want to give you a little background. So we'll get this, and then once we get through with this, we'll head back to Acts chapter 17. But all right, so what happens after death? Let me just pick up here. It says, this is not a simple question to answer. And I'm sorry you can't read this. I typed it from my notes and didn't intend to put it up on screen, but then I changed my mind. I didn't go back and change the font size. But anyway, this is not a simple question to answer because no single passage contains all of the information needed to answer the question. The opinions about this are extremely varied, and I mean extremely. If you've done any kind of research into this at all, the opinions are all over the place. Even among members of the Church of Christ, there is some difference of opinion. This is an important question, though. Not so much because it's a salvation matter, but because it's a source of tremendous comfort for us as Christians. Whether you're 100% perfect on your understanding of this topic, or whether you're not 100% perfect, will not keep you out of heaven, or it will not get you into heaven. So that's what I mean by this is not necessarily something that our salvation hinges on, but I do want us to understand. And I don't know that I've got a perfect understanding of it, because this is not something, like I said, where the Bible tells us in one passage, when you die, this is going to happen. We have to piece it together from several different books, different letters, and we'll do that as we go along. This is one of the things I wish we knew more about. I wish we could have a passage where Jesus sits down and says, okay, when you die, your soul is going to go here, and you'll either be in this place or this place. Then when I come back, I'm going to raise your earthly body, and we're going to combine the two again. I wish there was a sit-down discussion of that, but we just don't have it. So let's go into this a little bit. I put in here, of course, you'll have some that argue there is no afterlife and that the soul dies with the body, and that's out there. This is clearly against biblical teaching. Some believe that God is too gracious and that all souls will end up in heaven. This is also against biblical teaching. Some believe that the soul sleeps after death while awaiting Judgment Day when Jesus returns, as mentioned earlier. I also believe this to be contrary to biblical teaching for reasons we will see shortly. Now, the part I didn't mention earlier is that this person had a friend who felt like the soul slept until Christ returns, and that there was nothing more going on until then. And this person had always believed differently. So that's the reason for the question. Others believe that judgment occurs immediately after death, with the soul departing to a holding area. That's in quotes, okay? I just don't have a better term for it. But a holding area, for lack of a better phrase, where Christians will be with Jesus until they are reunited with their bodies on Judgment Day, while non-Christians will go to a place of torment while awaiting Christ's second return. For the sake of discussion today, I'm going to assume that we all believe there is life after death. Okay, I'm not going to try to prove that to you. I think we all will agree with that there is life after death. Our soul will continue for eternity in one fashion or another. So let's turn to Scripture, and let's see what the Bible has to say about things. This is why I put my iPad on the left when I'm preaching, because I tend to hit that right button down there. So the first passage is a quote from Jesus. He has just been talking to his disciples and telling them what was about to happen. The Last Supper is about to occur. Okay, this is in that time frame there. And he comforts them with this in John chapter 14, verses 1 through 3. Jesus says, your heart must not be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many dwelling places. If not, I would have told you. I'm going away to prepare a place for you. If I go away and prepare a place for you, I will come back and receive you to myself, so that where I am, you may be also. All right, so Jesus is reassuring his disciples here that all of their labor, travel, stress, all of the mistreatment by the Jews and others, all of that stuff that they are having to contend with here on earth is going to be worth it in the end. There is a reward for hard work and perseverance. His going away was necessary so that things could be ready for them. And I strongly believe that if Jesus were here today, he would remind us of the same thing. In Genesis chapter 3, yeah, go ahead.
I've always had trouble with God, Jesus can do anything. Why does he have to prepare anything? Why can't he not just speak it into existence? It's like he's saying he's going away to build something. He can just speak it into existence. It's there already.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wondered about that.
Okay, go ahead, Lowell.
Well, a good reason is because that is the terms that we understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not necessarily that's exactly how it's going to happen.
Right.
It's in a form that
And I'm going to make that point again down here later on in these notes about his description of heaven and hell. Because our brains, our mortal brains, are simply too incompetent to understand what heaven and hell are really going to be like. Okay? He's using figurative language here when we discuss those terms of heaven and hell because we can't understand anything else. We can't understand what it's literally going to be like. I wish I could. I wish my brain was big enough to comprehend those things and to really understand exactly what the future holds for us after we die. But I will submit I'm not that bright. I'm too feeble-minded to understand all of that. So God puts it in terms we can understand, and that's, yeah. Genesis chapter 3. God is talking to Adam about the consequences of their sin in the garden. He makes this statement, Genesis 3:19, you will eat bread by the sweat of your brow until you return to the ground, since you were taken from it. For you are dust, and you will return to dust. So God has been telling us from the beginning of time that our physical bodies will return to the dust it came from. Our physical bodies were never intended to be permanent. These bodies we're in now, thankfully, I don't have to live with for eternity. Okay, now, what my eternal body looks like and what, compared to my current body, I couldn't tell you. But it will be different. Our current physical bodies were never intended to be permanent. In 1 Corinthians 15, Paul talks about what to expect in terms of our bodies after our earthly bodies return to dust. So 1 Corinthians 15, this is a fairly famous passage here, verses 39 through 34. Not all flesh is the same flesh. There is one flesh for humans, another for animals, another for birds, another for fish. There are heavenly bodies and earthly bodies, but the splendor of the heavenly bodies is different from that of the earthly ones. There is splendor of the sun, another of the moon, and another of the stars, for one star differs from another in splendor. So it is with the resurrection of the dead. Sown in corruption, raised in incorruption. Sown in dishonor, raised in glory. Sown in weakness, raised in power. Sown a natural body, raised a spiritual body. If there is a natural body, there is also a spiritual body. And again, I don't know what that looks like. I wish I did. We are told here that our spiritual body will be different from our earthly body. It will be incorruptible. It will be glorious. It will be raised in power. Even though I don't know what that is entailing, I have every confidence that it's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be beyond our imagination, beyond our ability to understand and grasp the concept. So since our earthly bodies die and return to dust, what happens to our soul? Does it remain in the grave with our bodies? Some people believe it does. Ecclesiastes 12:7 tells us, and the dust returns to the earth as it once was, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. Okay? So let that sink in a minute. The spirit returns to God who gave it. Then you look at Luke chapter 8, 54 and 55. Now this is Jairus' daughter. And it says, he took her by the hand and called out, "Child, get up." Catch the next phrase. I never paid attention to it until now. Her spirit returned. And she got up at once. So, bear with me. It's a little too close for comfort right now, but bear with me. So her spirit returned. She got up at once. And then Jesus commended his spirit into God's hands when he died on the cross. We find that in Luke 23:46. Jesus called out with a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I entrust my spirit." So, from these verses and others, it becomes obvious that the soul leaves the body at death. So what happens at that point? It remains until Jesus' second coming. Luke 16. One day the poor man died and was carried away by angels to Abraham's side. The rich man also died and was buried. Being in torment in Hades, he looked up and saw Abraham a long way off with Lazarus at his side. "Father Abraham," he called out, "have mercy on me and send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, because I'm in agony in this flame." "Son," Abraham said, "remember that during your life you received your good things, just as Lazarus received bad things. But now he is comforted here while you're in agony. Beside all this, a great chasm has been fixed between us and you, so that those who want to pass over from here to you cannot, neither can those that from there cross over to us." Okay? So from this story, we see two individuals that have passed away. They both are apparently in Hades, but the rich man is in torment, while Lazarus is being comforted at Abraham's side. This would indicate a couple of things to me anyway. Okay. Lazarus and the rich man have already been judged. All right. Lazarus was found faithful. The rich man was not. Therefore, they're in two very different places. Lazarus is in a place of peace and comfort. The rich man is in a place of torment. Once we have died, it is too late to change our minds. We are told here that there's a great chasm between the two areas that no one can cross. All right, so our Mormon friends with their concept of the baptism for the dead, where you can be baptized for someone after their death so that their soul will be saved, is false, according to what we read here in this story. Go ahead, Will.
Well, I don't think that can be taken literal. I think that's more like one of the parables that Jesus told to help us understand. There will be a separation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so we may not understand it completely, as I've said, but when he tells us here that there is a great divide where the two cannot be crossed, I believe that's literal.
That's separation.
That's separation. Yeah. He will not lead us into anything that would be false or poorly understood. Go ahead, Clinton.
A lot of scholars do not believe that's a parable because Jesus actually uses names.
Right. Right. You know, that's where we get into a lot of arguments and people trying to say things are not necessarily the way we believe they are. There's people that believe hell doesn't exist, that it was just Jesus talking about the place outside Jerusalem where they burned trash and refuse and sacrifices and dead animals and things like that. So we can question a lot of things. But when Jesus is this specific in his teaching, even if it is not as detailed as we would like for it to be, but when Jesus is this specific and he's mentioning here Abraham and Lazarus. And he's being specific for a reason. He wants us to gain something from this passage that we might not gain otherwise. And this is that importance of knowing that our souls will be okay after our death. We're okay. And he's trying to get that across to us here. He's also trying to get across to us the urgency, I think, of you need to change your mind now. Change your life while you're on this side of the grave rather than trying to do it afterward, because once you get to the other side of the grave, it can't be done. Okay? So, let's look at Philippians chapter 1, verses 21 through 24. Paul says, "For me, living is Christ and dying is gain. Now, if I live on in the flesh, this means fruitful work for me." I mean, Paul could continue to do a lot of good for the cause of Christ, couldn't he? The longer he lives, the more good he does, the more fruitful he can be, the more souls that are saved, the more souls will be in heaven one day. I mean, that's not arrogance on Paul's part. That's understanding reality, okay? Now, if I live on in the flesh, this means fruitful work for me, and I don't know which one I should choose. I am pressured by both. I have the desire to depart and be with Christ, which is far better, but to remain in the flesh is more necessary for you. He also says this in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 6 through 8. So we are always confident and know that while we are at home in the body, we are away from the Lord, for we walk by faith, not by sight. And we are confident and satisfied to be out of the body and at home with the Lord. Okay, so when we leave the body, we're going to be at home with the Lord. These passages confirm that our souls are away from the body when we die. So the natural next question for me anyway is, when are our souls reunited with the body? All right. Let's look at 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 50 through 55. "Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, neither doth corruption inherit incorruption. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, Death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is your sting?"
So your soul,
What now?
if we're alive on the last day, so
Mm-hmm.
the way that reads, our soul will literally be part of the body.
It'll change bodies, yeah. Or the body will be changed around it, I don't know. But either way, our earthly body, if we're alive when Jesus comes, either way, our earthly body is going to be changed into an incorruptible form. Our soul will be with it. If we pass before Judgment Day, then our body will be reunited with our soul. Clinton?
1 John 3:2 says, "Beloved, we are God's children now, and what we will be has not yet appeared. But we know that when he appears, we shall be like him, because we shall see him as he is."
Right.
When Jesus ascended into the clouds, the angels told the apostles that he was coming in just as he was.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes me think that we're going to have a body and we're going to eat, because Jesus ate after he rose. He did a lot of different things.
Sure. So I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. I know we'll worship him forevermore. I know it's going to be a fantastic, glorious, phenomenal, awesome, whatever adjective you want to use to describe it, existence. But I don't know exactly what that is. I'll look forward to learning it one day. 1 Thessalonians 4:13 through 18. "We do not want you to be uninformed, brothers, concerning those who are asleep, that you will not grieve like the rest, who have no hope. Since we believe that Jesus Christ died and rose again, in the same way God will bring with him those who have fallen asleep through Jesus. For we say this to you by revelation from the Lord. We who are still alive at the Lord's coming will certainly have no advantage over those who have fallen asleep. For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the archangel's voice, with the trumpet of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. Then we who are still alive will be caught up with them in the clouds. Yeah.
That's the only verse I really have a problem with, because that tells me that I won't be risen until Christ comes again. But there's another verse, and I was trying to find it here, and I hadn't found it. It says something to the effect, there's a grandstand of onlookers cheering us on.
Yeah, that's in
And
Hebrews.
that makes it hard to say, I'm laying there waiting for Christ to come. How am I cheering someone on if I've already passed on? And
It's the Spirit.
yes.
It's our spirit that's doing that. It's our soul.
Obviously, it's not our body that's laying there waiting. It's
Right.
our spirit.
Mm.
And that's, those two verses keep me from, they keep me bouncing back and forth. Knowing whether, we'll all wait. But we get the indication when Christ died, he took one of the thieves on the cross with him.
To
said,
paradise,
"You're
yeah.
Right, you'll be with
Yeah.
me in paradise."
Right.
That's obviously not heaven.
Right.
And Christ even told one of the women that came to attend to him on the day of his resurrection, "Don't touch me, because I haven't been to my Father yet."
Right.
So we know
It's
he went
separate.
to paradise,
Yeah.
and not go to heaven.
Right. Two different things. Two different.
I think that's why that
Seems
verse
like
is
it, yes.
important.
Yeah.
That's why, I think that's why he talks about preparing the places, because that was an important distinction that he wanted us to know.
Mm.
Was that process was so that those before us would be waiting.
Right.
And that's why that coincides with this verse, so that it's easier understood where that in between is. In a lot of better terms, I
Mhm.
mean, we're just not meant to understand that, and I think that's what's so cool about it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something to be said for not having a full understanding, isn't there? And then our imaginations kind of run wild with it, and trying to see if we can imagine exactly what things are going to be like. David first, and then Lowell.
Building paradise. If the part of the revelation is literal, those in paradise have to be in communication with the Lord.
Oh yeah.
Something in the revelation is effective. How long?
Mm-hmm.
How long do we have to wait? It's just,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it very clearly tells us that we will be with the Lord. Let's see. Where was I looking here? Let me go on. Maybe I'll catch it down here. But anyway, in these two passages, we see that our earthly bodies will be raised upon Jesus' return. But when they are raised, they will be changed into a body that is incorruptible. So we need to think about the terms that are applied to these different places that we were talking about after death. Okay? So the Bible speaks of a few different things in a few different places. As we've seen this morning, we're kind of pulling in different verses to try and figure out exactly what's going to happen. But the Greek word for Hades is Strong's number G86. This is from Mouse's dictionary. It is the Greek word Hades, literally. And that's the abode of the dead, place of punishment, hell, lowest place or condition. And then I messed up, and y'all just can't believe that happened, can you? I've highlighted it, so I'll go back and fix it when I get home. But I found this on the way to church in the car, and I couldn't fix it. I copied and pasted the wrong definition into it. So the Greek word for paradise is Strong's number G3857. So let's go back to eSword, and we'll look at that definition just in person here. All right, so it's the Greek word paradisos. It's a park or an Eden, place of happiness. Thayer's definition is among the Persians, a grand enclosure, preserve, hunting ground, park, shady and well watered, in which wild animals were kept for the hunt, enclosed by walls. Let's see, definition 3, the part of Hades which was thought by the later Jews to be the abode of the souls of the pious until the resurrection. And then the fourth definition is the upper regions of the heavens. But it's only used 3 times in your Bibles. And I didn't realize that until I got to looking into this, but this is not something that's mentioned very often. If you look at the 3 places it's used, of course, Luke 23:43, to the criminal on the cross, I assure you today you will be with me in paradise. 2 Corinthians 12:4, this is Paul telling about a man that he knew that was caught up into paradise. He says in this passage, whether in or out of the body, I don't know, God knows, but he was caught up into paradise. He heard inexpressible words which a man is not allowed to speak. You know,
That was Paul, wasn't it?
yeah, that was,
When
well,
he's talking about himself,
he was talking about himself. He didn't identify it as being him, but
he was carried away. And
Right.
yeah.
yeah, he said, I know a man who did this, but we all believe he was talking about himself. Yeah. Revelation 2:7, anyone who has an ear should listen to what the Spirit says to the churches. I will give the victor the right to eat from the tree of life, which is in God's paradise.
Definition, thank tree of life. This is the Garden of Eden.
It's a circle, isn't it? Tree of life is what caused the problem in the Garden of Eden, isn't it?
Well, no, I think Satan caused the problem.
No. Well, I know Satan caused the problem, but yeah. Knowledge of good and evil. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But in Revelation 21, John saw a new heaven and a new earth.
Right, and that's where it was. Yeah.
So I think, just my thought, that when we have our new body, we are living in that new land.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No question about that. All right. So anyway, this is where we get this term paradise from. And we saw the definition of that. And so I'm going to have to reopen and scroll back down now, so just bear with me a second. And expand it back out. There we go. All right, so based on biblical usage, it appears that the term Hades is descriptive of the holding area for our souls after death. The soul will either be in paradise or torment based on how we have lived on earth. Are you saved or not saved? That's going to make the decision. The Greek word Tartarus is used only one time in our Bible. That's in 2 Peter 2:4. For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved for judgment. And he goes on, but this is where it's used. And the Greek word is tartaroo, okay? If you go by the description here, it's tartaroo. But anyway, this is the deepest abyss of Hades, to incarcerate in eternal torment, to cast down to hell. The other word used for hell in the New Testament is Gehenna. It's Strong's number G1067. It's used 12 times in the New Testament. This is from Thayer's dictionary. Hell is the place of future punishment called Gehenna, or Gehenna of fire. This was originally the valley of Hinnom, south of Jerusalem, where the filth and dead animals of the city were cast out and burned, a fit symbol of the wickedness of the wicked and their future destruction. Okay, so this is where we talked about earlier, Jesus sometimes using figurative language to teach a concept that we needed to know. All right? And if you look at the description of this valley of Hinnom in the New Testament and in the historical writings, this is a place that everybody avoided. Nobody wanted to be there. It stunk. It was hot. The fire never went out. It was always burning. And So this is the idea that Jesus is trying to get across of what hell's going to be like. This is going to be a place you don't want to be. It's going to be one of those places where you want to avoid at all costs, like we talked about last Sunday, where you don't want to go there. This is the particular word that causes trouble for some people, since it is a literal place. Some have said that Jesus was talking about the place instead of using it as a symbol or a hell is like descriptor. If Jesus was talking about the literal place, then Jesus was not talking about a place of eternal punishment or hell according to some. In these situations, Jesus and the biblical writers would use something we could understand and attempt to describe things we are incapable of understanding. I believe this was done with the use of the word Gehenna to describe hell as a place of eternal fire and torment. I also believe this was done extensively in Revelation, where John describes what it will be like. So again, our brains are too pitiful and small to understand the horrors of hell. So Jesus used this descriptor here of an eternal fire, hot, stinky, smelly place you want to avoid. And then he used the opposite descriptors when he talks about heaven. You think about it in Revelation, and y'all are as familiar with Revelation 20 as I am, and the description of the new heaven and the new earth, and all this that we have to wait for us, and the streets of gold, other descriptors I'm blanking out, but gates, yeah, the pearly gates and all that good stuff. This is what Jesus was doing. He was trying to use human terminology to describe a holy and omnipotent power. Yeah, or omnipotent power that God has to create things that we can't comprehend and we can't understand. So he's using human languages to try and get this across to us. The final Greek word we need to consider is the Greek word for heaven. It's Uranos. It's Uranos. Strong's number G3772. Heaven, the visible heavens. This is from Mouse, all their phenomena. And it goes on to describe all the different definitions that heaven has in your New Testament. It's used 273 times. For some reason, Mouse says it's 273. Strong says it's 284. I don't know which one it is. But either way, it's used a bunch of times to talk about the sky and the heavens and heaven itself. But we can see from this that heaven is discussed much more widely in our Bibles. So my conclusion on this, and we're about out of time, so it says, I believe it is clear from the things we looked at this morning that there is a holding place for our souls after death, paradise for the Christians, and a place of torment for the non-believers, seen very clearly in the story of the rich man and Lazarus. When Christ returns, our souls will be reunited with our bodies. For the Christian, these will be our spiritual bodies, full of glory and power. Revelation tells us there will be no death in heaven. Our spiritual bodies will be eternal. I have no idea what they will look like. I believe that we are recognizable in paradise based on the rich man and Lazarus, right? They recognized each other. So because of that, I also assume, and we know how dangerous assumptions are, but I'm assuming that we will be recognizable in heaven as well. Go ahead.
Didn't it make that statement that we'll all be known? I think it does.
I think it may. Do you remember if it does, Dad?
Yeah.
Where is it at?
It's in Corinthians, but
Okay.
will be known,
Mhm.
even as we know.
Okay. So yeah, it makes a statement. And so we're going to know each other. It'll be a reunion, big reunion when we get there. There's a Facebook meme that goes around, and I've seen it periodically, of there's this guy that collects pictures of home run celebrations. Okay, you've seen those home run celebrations, particularly in the little leagues, but even in the major leagues sometimes. College softball has huge home run celebrations where everyone leaves the bullpen or the dugout, and they come and gather at home.
That's 1 Corinthians 13:12.
Okay. 1 Corinthians 13:12, where we will know each other. So if you imagine that kind of reunion when we get home, It'll be good. It'll be good. So I promise you, when I prepared this write-up, it didn't affect me at all. I was not emotional. It sometimes surprises you where it hits you, doesn't it? So anyway, thanks for bearing with me there. Any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Lowell.
You know, I don't really understand what's gonna happen after my death,
Mm-hmm.
but I have faith in believing that I'll be saved and I won't be unhappy. That's my faith.
Yeah, well said.
I'm a faithful Christian.
Sure, absolutely. And that's well said. We do have that promise of a glorious existence, don't we? So that's good. Anyway, I hope it bolsters your faith a little bit this morning. And we'll finish up in Acts chapter 17, hopefully next Sunday. Thank you for being here.